Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about A Man for All Seasons, a 1966 film. It won Best Picture in the 39th Academy Awards. So a few films were up for contention this year. So we have Alfie, The Russians Are Coming, The Sand Pebbles, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which is the only one I'm familiar with. I know that one's based on a play. So yeah, Man for All Seasons. So this film, essentially it's about like this dude who refuses to validate King Henry VIII's, reign of the Church of England, so he can invalidate his marriage to Catherine, so he can marry this other lady, and he gets his head chopped off for it or something. Am I right? Did I get the basic facts right?
That's pretty much it, yeah. I mean, it's a historical film. Basically, it's King Henry VIII versus Thomas More.
Yeah.
King Henry VIII obviously went against the Catholic Church, and so he can divorce, like you said, and remarry, and that's pretty much the film, summed up. Although the film itself, it really is about personal integrity. I think that's the way I look at the film, but it is a period piece, whatever, 1530s or something like that.
Yeah. So, well, I think the play was from the 60s also, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
Yeah, and it actually premiered in 1960. As a matter of fact, it was actually written by Robert Bolt, who's famous for writing Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago.
Hey,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, so he won an Academy Award for Man of All Seasons and Dr. Zhivago, as a matter of fact. He didn't win anything for Lawrence of Arabia, which is kind of weird, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one's directed by Fred Zinnemann, who we've covered in From Here to Eternity.
One of our favorite films.
One of our favorite films.
From one of our favorite books.
Yeah. Of course, he did a bunch of movies, High Noon, and he's done some good films.
Which is so much better.
Yeah. Did a bunch of movies, Oklahoma, and so, but
yeah. This film in particular is also starring Orson Welles, Robert Shaw as King Henry VIII, which surprised me. I thought Orson Welles was going to be King Henry VIII, but it turns out it was Robert Shaw. He came in and he did it. He's not in the film that much, but for every little time he's in it, he's actually really good. I thought he was very entertaining.
It's funny you mentioned that. I had no idea. I had never seen this movie before. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. So I had no idea who else was in this film. So seeing Orson Welles, he has that cameo in the beginning, has the Kool-Aid Man, the Cardinal, and I had no idea he was in this film. So I was like, "Whoa, is that Orson Welles? Of course it is." And then, like you said, Robert Shaw, Quint himself from Jaws, one of my favorite movies.
Exactly.
I didn't know he was Henry VIII. The super awful and unhinged Henry VIII.
Oh yeah,
and
such a bad person in this film.
Yeah, and real life, and
yeah, so, exactly.
Of course, and so Robert Shaw, of course, great career, and so I mean that was surprising. William Hurt is in this movie. I had no idea he was in this. He plays Richard Rich, right?
Yes.
Acquaintance of Thomas More, and so that was surprising too. Another great actor, and so I was really shocked. A lot of people in there that I was like, hey, I didn't know they were going to be in this movie. So
yeah, there's actually a couple of interesting facts too. There is a character in this, Anne Boleyn. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She's the person that King Henry VIII wants to marry in lieu of Catherine. Essentially annul the marriage in favor of her. Well, she was played by an actor still alive as of this recording by Vanessa Redgrave. She would go on to play Alice Moore in the 1988 adaptation of this film.
There you go.
Rather the 1988 adaptation of the play. So I thought that was interesting that she would play two different characters of two different adaptations. And in the 1988 adaptation, Thomas More is instead played by Charlton Heston.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that I knew. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, as usual, if there's a source material, I'm going to deep dive into it because I'm a complete lunatic. So I read the play, and halfway through the play, I was bored out of my mind. At some point, I even started talking in silly voices to keep myself entertained because that's how boring it was for me. And then finally, I decided to read along with it with the actual play running. So there's a YouTube recording of the full play that I saw. It was about 2.5 hours, more or less. And yeah, I mean, God bless those people. They tried their best. They could not make it interesting. I'm sorry. They tried their best, though. After that, though, I did end up seeing the 1988 film adaptation because I thought, why not? And Charlton Heston is essentially Charlton Heston with a wig on. That's you get what you pay for, or in this case, waste my time with. So,
Yeah.
if you like Charlton Heston, have at it. He plays himself essentially. Like I said, Vanessa Redgrave is in it, playing a different character, and also Roy. How do you pronounce his last name? Kinnear? He is in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He plays the father of the spoiled child, Veruca Salt. With the golden geese laying thing. That scene, she goes into the chute and whatever.
Okay.
He's the father of that character. Well, he's in this film, and he plays a character called the Common Man. The interesting thing about the play, if there's any interesting things about the play, one interesting thing about the play is that there is a persistent narrator, and it's called the Common Man. And he comes in and out. In the play, it's just a random character that comes in, the lights dim. He just gives a monologue to the people listening. In the film, it's played by this guy, Roy Kinnear. And
you're talking about not this film.
I'm not talking about this film, no. So
of course, I was like, that doesn't seem.
I know you're probably. Yeah, I'm going to make it clear. I'm talking about the 1988 film for now. So in this film, it's like Roy Kinnear. He plays different characters, like different characters that we see in this film, the one we're about to talk about. But it's kind of weird seeing him play like he's the guy on the boat. He's a guy that he's talking to Thomas More, but seemingly as different characters. And once the principal characters are gone, he looks at the camera to us and starts monologuing, making little side remarks and things of that nature, all the way to the end. So I just make mention of that because the 1998 film is more faithful to the play in that aspect, all the way to the very end. Whereas this one doesn't do that at all. It is based on the play, and it's written by the guy who wrote the original play. But instead of that narrator, they strip it out completely, and each character is played straight all the way to the end. So it's played more like a serious drama in that sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, whereas in the other adaptation, both the play and the 1998, it's kind of farcical in a way. It's very tongue-in-cheek, doesn't take itself too seriously. It's kind of like a court jester coming in, giving you their 2 cents before they leave. So I would say that, I don't know, when it comes to this film, going into this one, the performances are great. As boring as the source material was to me, the performances helped make it a little better. There was a lot of earnestness in every delivery and every line that these characters or these actors delivered, such as the main guy, not Charlton Heston, such as Paul Scofield. He's really, really good in this role. I think he was pretty hypnotizing. And I believe he won the award for Best Actor, if I'm not mistaken.
He did a good job. Yeah, I think across the board, the performances, were good. It's Shakespearean and like a play at times because, well, it was a play, right? Like you mentioned, but but it is really solid, and those surprises with the acting, whether it was John Hurt or Scofield, or I think earlier I said William Hurt. I meant to say John Hurt.
Oh, yeah, different Hurt.
Right. Yeah, I think earlier I said William Hurt. Meant to say John Hurt.
Oh, okay.
Totally different actors, but
that's all good.
Both good, both very good actors.
Both also dead. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. Both gone. Yeah, I mean, I thought the acting was probably it's definitely one of the strengths for the film. I know a bit about this movie because of the history, so for me it's pretty easy to follow. And although it's not really the most interesting part of history at all, and I'm not really that interested in it. In my opinion, it's kind of
it's kind of interesting when you do a deep dive into it, because like I did some research on it, because again, this is one of those movies or plays or whatever that you have to understand what was happening at that point in history in order to really understand what's happening.
True.
If you don't really get what's going on, you're going to be really tuned out, like I pretty much was when I saw it the first 2 times. By the time I got to this film, the 1966 one, I did some research and I was like, okay, the actual event is kind of interesting in the sense where it was all about power. It's a power dynamic. Yeah, the film centers around him trying to annul his marriage to Catherine, but that wasn't the actual only reason why he did what he did. So essentially what this man did, what this king did, was just like, well, he wants to annul his marriage, but the thing is the Catholic Church had too much power. They had the power to give the annulment, not give the annulment, and they did it for so many other kingdoms around that time, and an emperor and all that stuff. And to defy the Roman Church were to be to question their power. And of course, what's really important for a large institution to consolidate their power and to keep it. So here you have this guy being like, nah, I don't want to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make my own institution. I'm going to call it the Church of England, and I'm going to do whatever I want. Because the thing is, it's like the Roman Catholic Church had also a stranglehold in some parts of England too. So by stripping that power, he was able to consolidate all the power for himself and basically call more of the shots instead of having to defer it to this other institution that's not even in his country. So that was the real reason why King Henry did what he did. And this Thomas More guy was like a figurehead.
Exactly.
And, he had a direct line to the church and all that stuff. So to legitimize this power, this consolidation with, what was the act in this one? The act of secession or something like that? Or the act of supremacy. That was to legitimize this grab on power. And Thomas More was like, no, the Catholic Church is the arbiter of everything. It is the highest power. I will not relinquish that power. No. And then he got his head chopped off by the end because that's what he strongly believed in. Even towards the end of the movie, he was just like being told by his family members, why can't you just pretend you're thinking of something else while you're taking the oath? Because I can't. And, and he makes all these little flowery metaphors as to why he couldn't. And I'm like, it's kind of cool, I guess, that he stood on principle, but I'm like, bro,
exactly, yeah.
Come on, dude. Was it really worth it at the end of the day?
I mean, that's exactly it. Stood on principle, even if it led to his execution.
Yeah.
Won't compromise his beliefs. In many ways, you got to respect that, right? I mean, and I think he was in a position where, I mean, one, that's what he wanted to do, and then it's also, I think, his daughter, for example, is already grown and going to get married and stuff. So it's like he knew that, like, in that way, that his family would be okay even if he was gone. In this case, obviously being executed.
Yeah.
So that's probably maybe a factor you would consider. I think a lot of other people, with the family would be like, okay, I can't do this. I have to compromise, and because other people will be hurt as well, right? So, but yeah, I mean, he has a lot of lines in the film that I thought were very interesting. And he says something like, some men think the earth is round, some think it's flat. But if it is flat, will the king's command make it round, right? And if it's round, will the king's command flatten it? So I thought that was really interesting. A lot of those lines were really good. And
they were to their credit, yeah.
He says that right before refusing to sign that decree, right? And so it was really, I think he had a lot of other famous quotes even outside of this movie. One of them was, I think it was something along the lines of, fill your mind with good thoughts, or the devil will fill your mind with bad thoughts. Which is pretty, I don't believe in any devils and stuff like that, but it's a good quote, though. That is a good quote.
But yeah, that's kind of part of why I think that the whole thing is kind of silly at the end of the day, because it's not like something like, we're going to talk about this much later, but Braveheart, that guy was tortured for his country, making sure his country was a sovereign nation. William Wallace, yes. This guy died because my pretend fairyland is more important than your pretend fairyland. I mean, just like, that's what reads to me. That's what's telegraphed to me. It's just like, I mean, listen.
But I can understand it, though, because he was a devout Catholic, and this was a major, this whole English Reformation that Henry VIII was undertaking, and to consolidate power and all, it just goes against his principles and everyone's in that time, in that place. And
because
to establish yourself the head of the church and the state, and
because
it's pretty crazy, right?
It goes much more. It goes beyond religion in that sense, because it really is about this guy, unilaterally declaring what's legitimate and what's not, even if it isn't. Especially on principle. So you can make a larger argument as to that's the underlining, because if you would have said yes to that, then what else could you say yes to? It'd be a trickle down effect, essentially. So. And it just started with, hey, listen, we have these pillars in place. We can't just topple them. But of course, the other character in this film is Richard Rich, also another historical figure. And that guy testifies against Moore and aids in his execution in that way because of his testimony.
He's basically Judas.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, because he's in the beginning of the film, and he's given a cup or something like that, a silver cup.
Yeah.
And then progress towards the end, he ends up ratting on him. Yeah, as you said, the Judas. And in real life, and it says this also at the end of the film, it's like the other characters, not just Moore, but there were a couple other guys that were set to die or were executed. And
Cromwell was, yeah. I think they
yes,
said 5 years later, Cromwell, who was his rival and hater, he ended up getting killed 5 years later. So.
there you go. And this other guy too, forgot it was a bishop or something, but he ended up not getting executed because King Henry VIII died of syphilis or something. So.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he was going to be executed, but the following day, but because Henry VIII died, and so they halted that.
He's just like, yeah, we can't do anything. And Richard Rich ended up being a very prominent diplomat and very rich man, died on his bed, I think is what they say in the film too.
Yeah, he ends up becoming Chancellor of England.
There you go.
Eventually, right?
Yeah. So he died, even though he's a little rat. He died peacefully. You know. Yeah. So the interesting thing too about the title of this film, "A Man for All Seasons," it's a double entendre in that sense. That it is about Thomas More, where the title means that no matter what the season is, he's steadfast. He will always have the same opinion, right?
Yeah.
So he stands on principle, but it also
it's
can
integrity,
apply
principle, integrity, and
all that stuff. Yeah, but it also the inverse can apply to Richard Rich, where whatever the season is, he's going to change for that season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So because that's exactly what that guy did. We only saw one aspect of that in the film, but throughout his career, if you look it up, whoever was in power, he did exactly what they said. He kept his head on his shoulders. That's all he cared about.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting when you really think about it on that standpoint. But be it as it may, though, even though we're talking about interesting things in history, interesting quotes, the movie for the most part was really boring. I was not thrilled watching this. I could appreciate it, though, if you look into it a little deeper. Unlike other films that I've seen, which are dreadfully too long or boring, and I rather just jump off a building or something than continue. This one, I was just like, you know what? I may not like the execution, but I do like the subject matter. It is interesting. It may not be the most interesting facet in history, but there are interesting moral quandaries. There are interesting quotes. There are interesting things that happen and makes you question about the integrity of institutions and all that stuff. So, I mean, it does get you thinking.
Correct.
So, yeah. So I give the film credit on that standpoint.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree. I don't think it's the most entertaining film. Like we said earlier, I think the acting is one thing that keeps you in. Sometimes the dialogue is like, it needs to pick up. He's going to pick up, and then some good quotes here and there, and some good. And then there's some scenes that are, add a little bit of entertainment. When, for example, when Robert Shaw's in his scenes are always, he's almost like a cartoon character.
Oh, he was so good. I enjoyed him so much.
So there's a couple of scenes like that are, but yeah.
I mean, even Orson Welles was in it very little also, and he didn't do a bombastic over the top performance like Shaw did, but he still had kind of a presence, maybe because he's Orson Welles.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, he's interesting. Because despite the fact that he is a born and bred American, he has a Shakespearean quality. I think because he was trained Shakespearean, was he not?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I can't confirm that. Maybe I can in real time.
I think most of these people in this film are Shakespearean actors.
Because he was in Shakespearean films and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it'd be fair to classify him as a Shakespearean actor because he's acted in so many different Shakespearean films and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So regardless if he was classically trained or not. But, be it as it may, though, there's not too much more to say about this film. It's heavily dense in dialogue because it is based on a play after all.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the year, I mean, it's not one of the strongest years in film, and I don't think this is the most deserving of the Best Picture winners. I don't know. I mean, it's a fairly good film, I think. I think 1966 had some good movies. My personal favorite probably is Good, the Bad, the Ugly, which is one of my favorite films.
Oh, for real? That came out the same year? Really?
That did, yeah. That
should have won That should have won Best Picture. Let's just be honest, man.
Well, it didn't even get music for Sergio Leone's.
Boo. Boo.
So I don't think
it's like one of the actually. It's like the best Western of all time, too.
But then again, Westerns aren't typically it's kind of like sci-fi and horror. They're usually neglected.
Oh,
It's not
Cimarron
gonna-
won Best Picture.
That's true. That is true.
They give Oscars to crappy westerns, apparently.
But then there wasn't one until Unforgiven or Dances with Wolves. So it's a long
Yes.
period of time without westerns winning anything.
Exactly.
And so now I think one reason The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, I think partly because it's a spaghetti western, so probably frowned upon it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that also was an Italian production, and I think it was originally released in Italian, not English, right? It was re-released in English, I think. I could be wrong, but
You're probably right. I mean, I don't know
so I
offhand.
think those might be reasons why they decided not to even give it a chance.
They stuck
I
their
don't know,
high
but-
noses up. Yeah.
Great movie, I love it. And but the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. I mean, that's a comedy, funny movie. I know the Sand Pebbles. That's a good war film with a killer cast. I think arguably one of Steve McQueen's best performances. Richard Attenborough's in it. A whole bunch of people are in that film, and so of course those were nominated at least. So, yeah, I mean, overall, pretty good film. There's some good things about it, like the acting. Some things, is it a movie I'm going to watch again? No, definitely not. But
Never, ever
yeah.
again. And I saw like 2 different adaptations too. You only saw it the one
Right.
time.
only just the 66 version. And so that being said, I'm probably going to give it a 6 out of 10 is my rating.
All right.
Yep.
Well, for me, I'll probably give it a 5 out of 10. I won't be too unfair with the film. There are positive aspects, as I mentioned. I think this probably would have been lower had I not seen the play or the 1988 adaptation.
Yeah.
Simply because, like, by the time I got to this film, I was already familiar with the subject matter. I already did my research, as I mentioned earlier, and I grew to have a little bit more of an appreciation for the work as a result. So 5, I feel like, is solid. There are times where it's very entertaining for what it is. Most of the time, it's just not.
Yeah. It was a good change from all the musicals we've been watching too, right? So,
Oh my God, yes. But speaking of which, guys, thanks for tuning into this episode, but we're not done with musicals yet.
yeah, one more to go
Yeah, it's not the next
for
one.
this
The
decade.
The next one is actually something you've already told me about that you like very much, and for some reason
Yes.
you said I wouldn't like it. We'll see if that's true or not.
Did I say that? I don't think I said you wouldn't like it.
Oh, yes, you did, sir. I remember.
Did I?
Yes, you did. But we will talk about that next time.
Until then, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Peace.